Science fiction films often depict aliens as hostile invaders, but in the film Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Steven Spielberg took a different approach. Rather than focusing on war, he created a film about wonder, curiosity, and communication. This movie explores what it means to seek something beyond ourselves. Let's take a look at the key creators of this film. Steven Spielberg directed Close Encounters of the Third Kind. By 1977, Spielberg was already a rising star after the success of Jaws, but Close Encounters was his true passion project, an idea he had been developing since childhood. He wrote the script himself, focusing on the emotional journey of everyday people experiencing something extraordinary, rather than portraying aliens as a threat or horror element. Vilmos Zsigmond, a Hungarian cinematographer, was known for his ability to use light and shadow in striking and dramatic ways. His work on this film earned him an Academy Award for the Best Cinematography. One of his greatest contributions to the film is the use of light. Spielberg and Zsigmond made the decision to portray the UFOs not as dark metallic ships, but as vibrant, luminous objects. Another innovation was his use of lens flares and deep focus cinematography to enhance the film's dreamlike quality. Every frame of Close Encounters feels like otherworldly, even when we're looking at something as ordinary as a truck driving on the road. Composer John Williams gave us one of the most iconic five-note melodies in film history, the melody that I used to begin this presentation. Williams experimented with hundreds of different musical phrases before settling on the now famous five-note sequence: re, mi, do, so. This became the universal language between humans and aliens in the film, replacing spoken words with pure sound. In addition to this five-note sequence, his other musical arrangements throughout the film brought out a sense of wonder. Richard Dreyfuss plays Roy Neary, an ordinary man obsessed with UFOs. Dreyfuss was already known for his work in Jaws, where he played oceanographer Matt Hooper, but in Close Encounters he takes on a much more emotionally intense role. Roy Neary is a family man whose life is turned upside down after his encounter with the unknown. One of the most eye-catching things about Dreyfuss' performance is how he portrays Roy's growing obsession. His wonder seen so deeply through his eyes in the early scene shifts to desperation as he starts sculpting mountains he visualizes out of mashed potatoes, unable to understand what's happening to him. It's both fascinating and heartbreaking to watch his family fall apart as he risks everything to find the truth. François Truffaut, a legendary French director, plays scientist Claude Lacombe. Truffaut was not a traditional actor. He was one of the pioneers of the French New Wave, known for directing classics like The 400 Blows. Spielberg specifically wanted him for this role because he wanted someone who portrayed intelligence and mystery, and someone who could bring a sense of credibility to the idea that scientists were seriously studying UFOs. Truffaut's portrayal of Lacombe is fascinating. He's calm, patient, and always one step ahead. Unlike scientists seen in films who are skeptical or dismissive, Lacombe is an open-minded believer. He speaks softly but commands authority, making him a perfect counterbalance to Roy's frantic energy. Terry Garr portrays Roy's frustrated wife, Ronnie. Unlike Roy, Ronnie doesn't experience a UFO sighting firsthand. From her perspective, her husband is suddenly acting erratic, building mountains in their living room and talking about signals from space. Garr plays the role with frustration and heartbreak, showing the painful reality of what happens when someone becomes consumed with something beyond comprehension. One of her most powerful scenes is when she finally leaves with the kids, unable to deal with Roy's behavior any longer. It's a devastating moment, and Garr plays it with a quiet sadness that feels completely believable. Her performance reminds us that while Roy is chasing something incredible, he's also losing things that he loves in the process. Melinda Dillon plays Julian Geiler, a single mother whose young son Barry is abducted by the aliens. Dillon's performance adds a deep emotional weight to the story, as she portrays both the terror of losing a child and the hope of getting him back. One of Dillon's most powerful scenes comes when Barry is taken from their home. The way she screams his name, chases after him, and finally collapses in despair feels raw and real. It's an incredibly intense moment, and her performance sells the horror of what's happening without the need for any special effects. But Gillian isn't just a grieving mother, she's also one of the film's strongest characters. Unlike Roy, who's confused and erratic, Gillian is laser-focused. She knows she saw something extraordinary and she refuses to let fear hold her back. Cary Guffey plays Barry Geiler, the young boy who had a special connection with the aliens. Unlike the adults, who are frightened and confused by the UFOs, Barry is completely at ease. His pure childlike wonder is one of the film's most important themes. Guffey was only 5 years old during the filming, yet his reactions feel completely natural. One famous example is when Barry first sees the UFOs outside his house. The look of joy and excitement on his face? That wasn't acting. Spielberg had the crew member surprise him with a toy off camera to get that reaction. Now, let's break down the plot of the story. The film opens with a series of bizarre discoveries. In the Mexico Sonoran Desert, a team of scientists led by French researcher Claude Lacombe finds a group of World War II planes perfectly intact, but with no pilots in sight. Soon after, in the middle of the Indian Ocean, a missing ship from the 1920s, the Cotopaxi, is found abandoned in perfect condition with no explanations. Reports of strange lights in the sky and electrical disturbances began surfacing across the world. In the United States, air traffic controllers witnessed two bright objects nearly colliding with a commercial plane, and yet there's no record of any aircraft in the area. We then meet our main character, Roy Neary, an ordinary electric lineman living in Indiana. One night, while responding to a massive power outage, Roy experiences something extraordinary. As he drives along a dark, empty road, a light shines down from above. His truck suddenly loses power and a UFO appears overhead, blinding him with its glow. The moment is overwhelming, and as the craft moves on, Roy is left changed. His face is literally sunburnt from the light. From this point forward, Roy becomes obsessed. He can't shake off what he experienced. He keeps seeing the shape in his mind, something he doesn't understand yet but feels the need to find. His life starts falling apart as he searches for answers, frustrating his wife, Ronnie. His obsession grows so intense that he begins sculpting a strange mountain shape out of anything he can find. Mashed potatoes, clay, even trash from his yard. Meanwhile, another family is experiencing something even more terrifying. Julianne Geiler is a single mother raising her young son, Barry. One night, strange lights appear outside their home. Unlike the adults in the film, Barry is not afraid, he's fascinated. He follows the lights, giggling and playing, as if he's welcoming a new friend. The lights invade their home, moving objects around as if they have a mind of their own. Julian desperately tries to keep Barry safe, but in a terrifying moment, Barry is abducted in front of his helpless mother, and she's left devastated but determined to get him back. As these strange occurrences escalate, we return to Claude Lacombe, the scientist investigating the UFO phenomenon. Alongside his interpreter, David Laughlin, he deciphers a mysterious signal, a sequence of numbers being broadcast from space. These numbers turn out to be coordinates leading to Devil's Tower in Wyoming. The U.S. government soon gets involved, launching a cover-up to keep civilians away from the site. They fabricate a story about a nerve gas leak forcing people to evacuate. But Roy and Jillian, along with others who have been experiencing similar visions, know that they must go to Devil's Tower. As Roy's obsession reaches its peak, he abandons his family and makes the journey to Wyoming. He and Jillian, still hoping to find Barry, sneak past military roadblocks and climb Devil's Tower. During night, a massive mothership appears above Devil's Tower, accompanied by smaller UFOs. The government scientists, led by Lacombe, attempt to communicate using a groundbreaking method, musical tones. A conversation then begins using sound. Because of this started communication, the UFOs then return all of the missing people who have been abducted over the years, including military pilots from the 1940s and, most importantly, little Barry. Jillian's relief and joy are overwhelming as she finally is able to embrace her son again. The aliens emerge from the ship, small glowing beings with elongated limbs and peaceful expressions. The government has prepared a group of volunteers to be taken aboard the ship as humanity's first representatives. But unexpectedly, the aliens choose Roy. After everything Roy's been through, he finally understands why he's chosen. Without hesitation, he steps forward, joining the aliens as they go into the ship. The mothership arises into the sky, disappearing into the cosmos. Next, let's discuss the themes. One of the most dominant themes of Close Encounters of the Third Kind is the innate human desire to seek out the unknown. Throughout the film, the characters are driven by the unshakable need to understand something greater than themselves. After Roy Neary's encounter with the UFOs, he becomes obsessed. He can't let it go. Much like early explorers entering new lands, Roy is willing to risk everything to find out what is out there. His curiosity pushes him beyond the ordinary, even when it means leaving his old life behind. We not only see this in Roy, but also in Julianne Geiler, the mother searching for her son, and in Claude Lacombe, the scientist trying to decode the signals from space. Every character touched by the phenomenon becomes curious. This is Spielberg's way of showing that, at our core, humans are explorers. We're drawn to mystery, discovery, and to the idea that there's something more out there. Another powerful theme explored in the film is obsession, the overwhelming pull of discovery and what it can cost. Roy Neary's journey is not just about wonder, but also about sacrifice. As his obsession with the UFO grows, his life falls apart. His wife, Ronnie, and the children leave him, unable to understand his fixation. He loses his job. He becomes isolated, ridiculed, and seen as unstable. And yet, that doesn't stop him. This raises an important question. When does the pursuit of knowledge become dangerous? Spielberg presents a dilemma. Do we embrace the unknown even when it means abandoning what we know? Or do we stay in the comfort of the familiar, even if it means missing something extraordinary? Roy ultimately makes his choice when he steps onto the alien ship, leaving Earth behind forever. He surrenders to his obsession completely. It's both triumphant, yet unsettling. The film leaves this open into interpretation, making Roy's journey both inspiring and haunting. Lastly, one of the most subtle but impactful themes of the film is the tension between isolation and connection. At the beginning of the film, Roy Neary is an ordinary man living an ordinary life. But after his close encounter, he becomes isolated. His experiences make him feel alienated from his family, his community, and society as a whole. He's trapped between two worlds, the one he knows and the one he feels drawn toward. Jillian, on the other hand, experiences isolation in a different way. When her son Barry is taken, she's left alone, with no one who truly understands what she has lost. Yet, instead of turning inward, she searches for connection, for answers, for her son, and for others who share her experience. This theme peaks at Devil's Tower, where those who have been called by the aliens finally find one another, and they no longer feel alone. And when Roy steps onto the ship, it represents the ultimate connection, the one that bridges the gap between the two worlds. Spielberg pushed the boundaries of technology in Close Encounters. One of the most striking aspects of Close Encounters is its breathtaking depiction of UFOs. At the time, digital effects didn't exist, so Spielberg and his team had to create visuals using practical techniques and cutting-edge special effects for the era. The film's visual effects were led by Douglas Trumbull, who had previously worked on 2001: A Space Odyssey. Trumbull used a combination of miniatures, matte paintings, and optical compositing to create light displays of the UFOs. One of Trumbull's biggest innovations was the use of motion control photography. This involved a computer-controlled camera system that could precisely repeat camera movements frame by frame. This allowed for multiple layers of visual effects to be combined seamlessly in post-production, creating a sense of realism that was revolutionary for its time. This technique was later perfected and used in Star Wars, Blade Runner, and other iconic sci-fi films. Spielberg wanted the alien spacecraft to look unlike anything audiences had ever seen before, more like a light show than traditional flying saucers. To achieve this, Trumbull and his team designed ships with dynamic patterns of colored lights inspired by neon signs and carnival rides. The lighting effects were created using miniatures and reflective surfaces. By layering multiple exposures of lights, the team was able to create a vibrant glow, and the result was spaceships that felt alive, radiating warmth, mystery, and intelligence. This was a stark contrast to the dark flying saucers often seen in earlier science fiction films. The color palette of the UFOs was also carefully considered. Spielberg wanted ships to feel magical rather than threatening, so he avoided harsh reds and blacks, instead opting for warm and inviting colors like deep blues, soft oranges, and yellows. The color design reinforced the film's theme that extraterrestrials were not invaders but peaceful visitors. In addition, while many of the film shots appear to take place in vast landscapes or outer space, much of what we see on screen was actually accomplished with miniatures. The massive mothership, for example, was a 6-foot-long model covered in thousands of tiny lights and intricate details. The model was designed by visual effects artist Gregory Jean, and it took 4 months to build. The ship's underside was packed with tiny hidden Easter eggs, including miniature R2-D2 from Star Wars and a tiny graveyard. Hidden jokes for those working on the film. The UFOs were filmed against black backgrounds and to create the illusion of motion. The models were often moved extremely slowly while being lit from different angles. When combined with optical composing, this technique gave the illusion of massive glowing ships just floating in the sky. So, why does Close Encounters of the Third Kind still matter? It changed sci-fi cinema, and it proved that alien movies can also be about wonder and not just war. It influenced so many future films. The film's approach to cinematography, lighting, and visual storytelling influenced generations of filmmakers, and the idea of portraying aliens as peaceful rather than menacing paved a way for movies like Arrival and Interstellar. In addition, it was added to the National Film Registry, meaning it's officially preserved as a cultural treasure. Even today, the film remains a benchmark for intelligent sci fi storytelling.